Hey guys, it's me, producer Ross, and welcome to another edition of my ITFC. And today I'm joined by Jason. Jason, thank you very much for coming on. How you've been during lockdown and how you've been doing?
Well, thanks for the invitation. It's nice to join you on the cast today. In terms of the lockdown, not a lot changed for me really. I've got my own consulting business, so I'd already been working from home prior to lockdown. And lockdown just gave me a chance to drag the rest of the world back down to my level. So I wasn't the only one shut away looking at people through Zoom and other sorts of medium. How did I become a Town fan? Well, I guess it was more a question of a rite of passage, really. Like most supporters, my dad was a Town fan. I was born in '68. So I was fortunate enough to begin my support of the club at a time when really they were playing some super football, and Portman Road was a wonderful place to be. So it was more a question of Dad going to football on a Saturday and me patiently waiting for that moment where I'm agreed, yes, okay, if you take him. And I think my first game was probably an unremarkable reserve team fixture.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. We tried to figure it out. And I guess born in '68, I'm thinking 74, 75 might have been sort of the first game that I went to. But for the purposes of this cast, I chose a fixture in '76, which I think would be a good starting point for me to describe myself as a real Ipswich fan.
And some fans, they may go, yeah, I went to a game when I was 3, but I can't really remember much of it. But really the good question is for this is, a good answer for this is the first Town game that you went to that you can really remember. So have you got one of those?
Yeah. And that was the game, the 7-0 thrashing of West Brom at Portman Road. And we had some cracking games. When I was looking into this, we had some cracking games against Albion over the years. Obviously, probably the semi-final of the FA Cup was the one that sprung people's minds. But that 7-0 trouncing at Portman Road was a pretty special afternoon. It encapsulated a lot of what was important to me at the time in terms of being a Town supporter. Beattie was playing, and he was a hero of my father's. So obviously, again, he became my favourite player. But it was also, as I think it was Mariner's first home game. Certainly his home debut, I think, for Ipswich. And I remember the anticipation of the game during the course of the week, in the press, the speculation that Ipswich were about to sign this number 9 from Plymouth Argyle for an incredible £220,000, like it was at the time. And I remember the whole week, I was so excited about, Mariner joining Ipswich and getting down to see him. And it really was a superb match. If you watch it back, I didn't appreciate how good Trevor Wymark was. But when you watch that game, I think he cracked in the afternoon. It really was a wonderful performance. A dark, I think it was November afternoon at Portman Road, bit on the turf. Town were in that superb full blue kit.
Yeah.
And Albion, they had this really splendid yellow and green striped shirt. It really was a classic visual experience from that perspective. And I think I said going into the game, probably my dad's hero, Beattie, became my hero. But after the game, Mariner then really became my own favourite player at the time, and made the 9 quite special for many, many years to follow. There's an interesting piece, Nobody Goes to the Park to Be Paul Mariner, that was written. But after that game, believe me, every time I was in a wreck, I was Mariner.
Yeah. Of course, that is the next question. You've mentioned Beattie, Mariner, Wymark, and you've said Mariner was your hero. So is he your favourite player of all time?
He is. I mean, later on in life, I had a big connection with Latin America and still do. So Tarico's arrival from Argentina was quite something for me. I remember, I think I was at his first game. I think it might have been Derby at home one evening. It could have been Tottenham at home, I'm not sure. But he had an unremarkable fixture. But you could see in his touch and his play that there was a real player in him.
Yeah.
And I think over the years, I'd sponsored town games and man of the match presentations. And I recall one that I did, and the pressure was on. Who was I going to nominate as man match? And there was never any real doubt that it was going to be Tarico, only because I wanted to meet with him and spend a little bit of time with him. But I remember the sort of confusion when I gave out Tarico as man of the match, and the rest of the crowd were sort of scratching their heads with bemusement because he didn't have the best of games. Yeah. But it was always going to be Tarico that got it for me. Yeah. I guess the FA Cup final. I was lucky enough to go down to Wembley, watch it. But I remember sitting on the carpet in front of the television as I was slipped one past Jennings to take up. And that was a pretty special afternoon. And it really brought the whole town together. So I think in terms of memorable moments, that was a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be churlish not to go with Robson. I mean, it's very difficult. In terms of best, probably Ramsey could be the best town manager, but he was before time. Robson certainly carried it off decade at Portman Road, excuse me. And his record was remarkable, really remarkable. But then coming forward a little bit, you'd have to put Lyle in there, and no one ever really mentions Lyle. They talk about team, but they never really mention Lyle per se. And I think he was a brilliant manager at Ipswich, and he did a really great job. I mean, he took a team of real scallywags, Linegan, Kilwamia, to go on, and Steve Whitten. He took a real fun characters, and he made them into a cracking team. So I think I'll also deserve a mention. I think he was a special guy.
Two kits, we're both wearing very retro kits indeed. Would you say the one you're wearing now, is that your favourite town kit?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can't go wrong with it, really. It's just plain blue with a little white piping, and I love the yellow trim around the badge. I must confess, ever since I think it was Radio Orwell introduced the red band that went across the front of the shirt, it was akin to one of the French World Cup kits, I think.
Yeah.
Red then started creeping a little bit. That's the one that you're wearing, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
There you go, Radio Orwell. Look at that. There you go. But I've never been a massive fan. It was always blue and white as far as I was concerned. And even now, I have to say, when that kit came out for this season commemorating the UEFA Cup, I thought that's a brilliant shot. Looks great. But then they put shorts with it, and I know that doesn't work. But having seen it now in the and watched the town play in it, it really does look like good, and perhaps will become sort of all blue in the same way that perhaps Liverpool are known to be all red. Yeah, I quite like it. I thought about this, and I was at Old Trafford when we had 9 slipped past us by Manchester United, and for many people, they would say, you know what, that was a pretty low moment. I think it was March, it was early spring, and I think there was snow falling as we left the ground, left Manchester, and 9 had gone past. It was horrible. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst of it, I think, was this Tuesday, and it could have been Wednesday, but we played Tottenham away. And I went to that, and if you ever went, White Hart Lane is a nightmare to get to. Mm-hmm. And I remember, getting over there work to go and watch us on the back of a 9-0. And then within 2 minutes, we'd conceded another one. And I stood there scratching my head, and I was thinking, that's 10 without repay. And at that moment, at White Hart Lane, with the away support baying blood, and Klinsmann looked like he could score every time he took the ball. That was a pretty low moment. I mean, there's been others, there's been relegations and all the rest of it, but that game at White Hart Lane was pretty great. Yeah, this is so selfish, so you'll have to indulge me a little bit. It was September. I think it was 1977. I can't remember, but it was a moment when, again, as a 257 Junior Blues supporter, was a program that Radio Orwell ran at the time. I was selected to be match day mascot. And you cannot imagine the thrill of this letter arriving Portman Road on a Monday morning, and you open it and it said, "No, congratulations, you've been chosen to match day mascot against Liverpool of all teams." And, an added bonus is that match of the day are going to cover the game. So for me, I have to be really selfish. It couldn't get any better than could it. So, we were up at Portman Road, my dad and I, and you get to the ground, somebody takes care of the rest of it. And a little differently to how it is these days, you get ushered into the boot room and you get given a kit to change into. And I meant to get the kit down to show today. I've still got it. Can't squeeze into it, but I still got it. And of course, Liverpool were a great team at the time. I think it might have been Dalglish's debut. I'm not so sure on that one. I remember Bob Paisley coming and taking me into the Liverpool dressing room and introducing me to the players. And then it was time to leave the teams. And unfortunately for me, Mills wasn't captain that day. He must have been injured. So Talbot was captain. And then, if you can imagine, as a 9-year-old, you stare, and must have been close to capacity at Portman Road, thousands and thousands of people cheering and ready for the teams to come out, and you lead out the team. And again, I got to kick around Beattie, who was my favourite player, and I slipped a penalty past Cooper. He tried to give me the eyes, but it didn't work. I found the back of the net.
Yeah.
And then you go up, obviously, to do the toss. And I remember at the time the referee had a tuppence, didn't have his customary 10 minutes. And I don't know whether we won or we lost toss, but Emlyn Hughes was their captain. And I always remember with his high-pitched Scouse accent, he was at the top of my head and said, "All right, lad." And it was wonderful. And then, of course, it's your moment to turn around and you have to run back to the corner and waving to your adoring fans. It was a brilliant afternoon. And I think, as I recall, Dalglish opened the scoring for Liverpool. And I think Mark got an equaliser, which kind of saved me, because I couldn't have gone away from him where I was mascot having lost. That would have just been too much. But yeah, I think in terms of memorable moments and something that will always stick in my mind, match day mascot for Town against Liverpool. Cool.
Well, Jason, it's been a pleasure. It's been great to hear all your memories. Definitely the last one there, being a mascot. I think a lot of Town fans, for them, you always got to be selfish. You always got to be personal sometimes of your best moment. And, as you said, that was during the good days as well. So thank you very much for joining me.